A death knell for India's real money gaming companies. The government is banning the $25 billion industry, citing psychological distress, financial loss, money laundering and even financing of terrorism as the reasons. Now, in the legislation, the government called real money gaming services, and I quote, is harmful. The move will have a wide-ranging impact on India's sports economy and cost thousands of jobs, as per the industry. The sector has attracted foreign capital worth billions of dollars so far. Valued at $8 billion, Dream 11 sits at the top of the pecking order, and it's now staring at a nightmare. The company's announced that it will be shutting down all the money games which contributed a lion's share to its revenues. India's cricket team is now without a sponsor after Dream 11 and BCCI decided to scrap the 358 crore rupee deal. So what is next now for Dream 11, and what about the future of fantasy sports in India? Joining me now to discuss all of this and more, Harsh Jain, the founder and CEO of Dream 11. Harsh, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18. I can imagine that this has been perhaps one of the roughest weekends that you've had to experience since you started Dream 11 in 2008. But Harsh, before I talk about the road ahead, I want to understand whether there was any indication given to you by the government in your meetings, in your consultations, in your conversations, that there was a growing discomfort with online money gaming.
Thanks, Shireen, for having me. Yeah, it's been a very tough weekend, obviously. Thinking about everything that could have happened and everything that has happened, it has obviously been a very big shock to deal with, hearing that on Tuesday that there may be a bill coming in which shuts down our entire business model, to Friday actually shutting it down. So the weekend definitely was a time to introspect and think about all of these things. I think there has been a growing concern over the last few years, very clearly, from the government on the online money gaming sector and the growth of it. But I believe, and I will always stand by the fact, that regulations were the way forward, which would have helped correct that growing concern or correct any concerns, because this is something that is regulated in the US, UK, Australia, all the large markets in the world. And I think we were close to it as well with the SRBs launched by the ministry a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, that didn't materialize, and today the industry is being banned.
Yes, that is the reality. The government was thinking about the possibility of SRBs, self-regulating bodies, but it's decided to do a U-turn from there. And of course, you're now staring at that ban. Now, Harsh, let's talk about the road ahead. And I want you to clarify, because there have been rumors coming in over the weekend on a possible legal challenge. Is that something that you, Dream 11 individually, or the industry collectively is considering at this point in time? Is a legal option an option being considered?
Look, I think, Shireen, we've always been a legally compliant company. When Dream 11's business model with real money gaming was legally proven, constitutionally protected, and even the Supreme Court of India approved it as a game of skill and protected by the Constitution, Article 19(1)(g). Then we ran it and we scaled it. And today the government of India has passed a law which says that they are prohibiting online money gaming, and we will follow that law in letter and spirit. And so Dream 11 will not be challenging this law. If the law changes at any point, I believe there's also a regulator coming in. If that ever changes, we can explore those business opportunities then. But no, this is not some place that we want to fight. We want to focus entirely on the future and doing what is in line with our Honorable PM's vision of making India a great sporting nation. And I think that's what I've always told the media forever, that Dream Sports, as the name suggests, is not a gaming company. We're a sports company. We have Fan Code, a sports content platform, Dream Set Go, Sports Travel and Experiences, Dream Sports Foundation, and many more, which are all focused on sports. And so for us going forward, we just want to focus on sports AI. I believe it's a large opportunity to have today 500 engineers that are available to focus on AI as it disrupts every field. And in the same way, it's going to disrupt sports. It's going to disrupt all the different industries of sports, including performance and analytics and data. And so we are going to dive headfirst into that.
Okay, you're not a stranger to making pivots. You've pivoted a bunch of times since the start of the Dream 11 journey in 2008, and perhaps this is going to be the most significant pivot that you make, Harsh. But I'll talk to you about the pivot in just a second. Let's address the issue at hand, because this is what your investors, also your employees, would want clarity on. Now, the ban is here. It's here to stay for all practical purposes until and unless the government decides to change things. What happens now to employees? If you can give me an employee headcount to start with, and how many employees are likely to be impacted? Will you have to see job losses, redundancies? What should we expect on that front?
I think, Shireen, we've always said this, and we'll live by it now. There's things that you say and there's things that you have to walk the talk. And we've always said that talent first. You can't build anything without talent. And so we are fortunate to be in a position where we have enough capital to accommodate our current team. While we won't be hiring aggressively in any way in the near future, we want to make sure we keep all of our team, and so there will be no layoffs. We will be utilizing these brilliant engineers and product managers, designers, or our entire team that we have, that we've painstakingly built over so many years. We will be, getting the help to build our future. And so whether it's all the sports AI products and services that we want to build on content, commerce, merchandising, analytics, performance, data, we need this team to build that out. So we will not be having any layoffs. We will be investing in our people to dig us out of this hole. This is definitely a hole. 95% of our group's revenues have disappeared overnight, and 100% of our profits. So the only way we believe to come out of this is by rebuilding for our user base of 260 million Indians, by rebuilding with an amazing talent pool we have, by utilizing the brand that people love and that we've hopefully earned a lot of trust from, and building for the future now.
Harsh, if you can give me a little bit more color, because as you pointed out, 95% of your revenues disappear with this ban coming in your words, as well as your profits. The numbers that we have are numbers for FY23. We don't have numbers for FY24 and 25. You also talked about enough capital on the books at this point in time. What is the capital that you have on your balance sheet? And if you can share with us whatever is possible in terms of revenue and profitability, the last numbers.
Sure, I think you can find our numbers from the ROC, but the revenues and profitability basically don't matter for the past. What matters is the cash we have on hand, and that's enough to support our current team for a few years.
What is the cash on hand at this point in time?
That's the runway we need. Sorry, could you repeat that?
What is the cash on hand at this point in time?
Shireen, could you... Oh, you can see that from I think the last reported cash was a few thousand crores in our FY23 ROC. We've made some significant investments since then, but what we're focused on is that we have enough capital to maintain our team of about 800 people on Dream 11 for the next couple of years while we build out these products. Of course, we're also pivoting Dream 11's model from a pay-to-play model to a free-to-play model with ads and sponsorships. So we're hoping that with our scale, those ads and sponsorship money will result to something significant enough to reduce our burn. We will also look to globally distribute the product now, instead of being India only, which can further help us to monetize our user base with our free-to-play model as we build our new products and services and monetize them. We have a large distribution and a great brand, and we intend to use that to, like I said, dig ourselves out of this hole.
Well, speaking of sponsorships, Harsh, let's address the big one. And I guess, there's a lot of chatter online about the jersey jinx and how the jersey jinx continues to play itself out, even in your case. Now, is there clarity from the BCCI, Harsh, at this point in time that there will be no penalty involved now that you are no longer going to be the sponsor of the Indian cricket team? Because I'm given to understand that there is a waiver clause, but can you confirm that for us?
No, I think that we've been a partner with BCCI for over a decade. Right from I think we were the first technology company to become an official partner of the IPL. We were fortunate enough to have one of the IPL seasons named Dream 11 IPL. We then moved on to become a front of jersey sponsor for the Indian men's team, which is the one you're talking about. There are only 6 months left of that sponsorship. It started in 2023. And it ends in about 6 months. So we're only talking about a 6-month period. But there is ongoing discussions with the BCCI to mutually agree on the way forward. Nothing has been decided yet. But obviously the change in law renders our Dream 11's business plan obsolete and prohibited. So we're in discussions with BCCI, as any good partnership would be, to discuss on the mutually agreed way forward. And when we have one, I'll
what would that,
No,
but if I can just understand from you, when you talk about a mutually agreeable way forward and that you're in conversation with BCCI, that's essentially to ensure that you do not have to pay a penalty, or is there any other item on the table up for understanding and negotiation?
No, I think we have to do what's best for the Indian team. And with the limited resources we now find ourselves with, given the fact that the business model no longer supports that sort of advertising and sponsorship. So we are in open discussions with the BCCI on all ideas possible to go forward and make sure that this partnership continues. This is the most important partnership for us. We are continuing to build a sports company in India. And as such, we want to make sure that the BCCI and we mutually agree on whatever is the way forward. We have the Asia Cup right now. We have the Women's World Cup. And finally, the March Men's World Cup as the 3 large events in the next 6 months of our sponsorship. So we will work out something and I'll let you know.
So you're essentially saying that there is no end to this partnership, because you're talking about the possibility of continuing this partnership, perhaps in a different shape, given the ban as far as online money gaming is concerned, as well as the restrictions on advertising and so on and so forth. But you're essentially saying that you hope that your partnership with the BCCI for each of these tentpole events will continue, Harsh?
No, what I mean is our partnership as a company with BCCI. For example, Fan Code has a lot of live streaming for sports events and cricket events in India. Dream Set Go organizes a lot of tickets and experiences for watching IPL or cricket matches. We have a large partnership with BCCI that goes beyond just the front of jersey, and that we plan to continue. We have to figure out a way to transition in an amicable way with BCCI from the front of jersey. When and how that will happen, we are still in conversations with them.
Okay, so fair enough. No clarity yet on what the final contours of that disengagement with BCCI will be. But, you've got a whole host of other IPs that you're involved with as sponsors, whether it's the ISL, it's the title sponsorship of Super Smash, New Zealand's domestic T20 league. There's a long list, Harsh. What happens to all of those properties, all of those IPs as well now? And of course, individual cricketers as well.
Almost all of them have a change. Almost all of them have a change in law contract built in, and so we will have to withdraw from all our sponsorships and all our brand endorsements across the world because of this change in law.
Okay, so that's clear. You will have to withdraw from all your sponsorships as well as all your individual endorsements on account of the change in law. And of course, I would imagine that you will have to look at each of the contractual obligations as you move forward. Do you worry, though, Harsh, on account of contractual obligations and liabilities because you're having to pull out, or are there waiver clauses inbuilt to each of these contracts?
No, wherever, look, like I said, Shireen, whether it comes to our entire business model or to every single partnership we have, we will always continue to work on the spirit as well as the letter of the law. And as far as individual contracts go, we will abide by contractual agreements. If there is a contractual agreement that states that due to a change of law, there is a force majeure, and we will abide by that. If the force majeure covers it anyways, we will abide by that. I believe that all our legal agreements cover this clause, and as such, we will have to withdraw from all our sponsorships and brand endorsements, because we need to start Dream11's business model from scratch. And hopefully one day we will be able to pivot and find a new business model for Dream11 with sports engagement to work on these partnerships once again.
This is a matter that has been sub judice. In fact, it continues to be at the Supreme Court at this point in time, is the GST issue and a massive bill that had been sent by the government to gaming companies like yours. I think in the Dream11 case, it was about 28,000 crores in terms of GST notices. We're, of course, waiting for the Supreme Court's verdict on this matter. But can you lay out for us what would the statutory dues be on account of GST and other taxes to the government?
I think, Shireen, nothing changes there, because even if the business was running fully, there would be no way to pay that GST retrospective bill, because even the principal amount, like you said, was something that none of our companies, no company in the industry, not us for sure, could pay. And the entire industry's bill was about 2.5 lakh crore, I believe. And that is something that simply renders the whole industry to go straight to NCLT. And that just continues. In fact, it's gone to a heightened degree, because in the earlier instance, with a business model that worked, you would still have some inherent value even if you went to NCLT. Now there will be none of that too. So I think that's the only thing that changes. But in terms of legality, nothing changes there. And the retrospective tax case that's going on, that we'll all be waiting to hear the judgment of, if found against the industry, all the companies would anyway end up in bankruptcy. And if found for the industry, then the companies that are left today will continue, like us, to rebuild and pivot into something for the future that is not online money gaming.
Yeah, we will have to wait to see which way the Supreme Court decides its verdict in this case. But Harsh, let's now talk about the road ahead. $8 billion in valuation, India's first sports unicorn. You've got a marquee set of investors, and I'm sure that you've had conversations with them over the last few days since this law came into being. Now, as you plan this pivot, Harsh, as an entrepreneur, as someone who, is facing an existential crisis, there's no other way to describe it. What is the thinking at this point in time? What have you communicated to your investors, and how soon do you actually start work on this pivot?
We started work on the pivot the day I think we heard about this law. This is definitely one of the darkest times for us and has a very deep implication, and we are in a hole, but we're in the hole with an amazing team of people, with an amazing set of investors, with some capital in the bank that can keep us going for the next few years, with a brand that is loved and trusted by a lot of people, and at a time where AI is going to disrupt everything, and I have 500 engineers available and ready to deploy on building the next generation sports AI company from India for the world. So yes, I may be a bit delusional. Yes, I am an eternal optimist. And we have to find a way to put the past behind us and focus squarely on the future, which is why we will not be challenging this law that the government has put into place. We will be law-abiding, we will focus on the future and just restart and rebuild for India's sports vision.
Well, you know, Harsha, as they say, it's the unreasonable man that drives change. And I think that really has been the story of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship over time. You know, we're looking at visuals. I don't know if you can see them, but we're looking at visuals from the early days of Dream 11 when you were first on Young Turks. Harsh, a very young Harsh Jain there on our screens. And so, yes, we have seen how that story has played out. Advertising, of course, is a big one. Harsh, how much were you specifically? You said for the industry, the spend was about 10,000 crores. For Dream 11, what was the ballpark number in terms of your annual advertising budget? And secondly, and I think that's the more important one, because in your statement that the industry put out, it talked about significant job losses running into lakhs, something that the government of India, the MeitY secretary, disputed in his conversation with me. You're saying that you will not cut any jobs, you will not lay people off at this point in time. But what is the real estimate as far as industry is concerned?
So I think our advertising spends were about 1,000 crores, but it was very volatile based on the sporting calendar, because in a year, if you have the World Cup and the IPL, if the World Cup is a T20 World Cup or an ODI World Cup or a Test Championship, it used to, change quite significantly. That would be a good average for you to know recently. In terms of jobs, I think for the 400 companies, a very large portion of them would have to shut down. And those jobs will truly be gone. I know a lot of the large players today that have already announced laying off a large amount of people in their organizations. Fortunately for us, like I said, we already have portfolio companies and had diversified away from gaming. Because Shireen, I've always told you, we're not a gaming company. We've been a sports company from the day we were born. The name of the company was Dream Sports. The name of the Indian entity was Sporta Technologies Private Limited, which stands for Sports Data Technology Private Limited. And we are fortunate to have those sports businesses to deploy our people into and a lot of sports opportunities to work on. But there will be an overwhelming majority of these 400 companies who will have to shut shop. And that's the truth.
400 companies that do not have the kind of balance sheets that you perhaps are lucky to enjoy at this point in time, and maybe looking at a dire future or no future at all is what you're telling us, Harsh. But Harsh, let me end then by asking you, because again, we've heard from some of your peers who are now looking at the possibility of looking outside of India altogether. What happens to your India plans? You said you want to now build a AI sports company from India for the world. But where does this leave the dream for India, so to speak, if I could call it that? And more importantly, you recently domiciled in India, I would imagine, with the hope of eventually going public. Those dreams now put away?
Yes, I can say that wasn't, a lot of entrepreneurship is about timing. And that timing wasn't great in hindsight, because we did pay our taxes to the US to re-domicile in India. But at the same time, Shireen, we have to look at this as a very long-term play. And we're here to build a long-term sports company, which would want to always have domiciled out of India. So I have no regrets about things that we've done in the past. And, we had already started diversifying significantly outside of Dream 11, because even in FY25, we had flipped over after, I think, 5 or 6 years of being profitable. FY25 was our first year to report a loss. And already knowing that because of the GST quadrupling, if you remember in October 23, the government changed the GST laws and GST tax rate and quadrupled it for the industry. We went from a profitable company to a loss-making company. And so we are already investing in diversified opportunities outside of online money gaming. So I think that's something that we'll continue doing. A lot of other companies are looking at global opportunities, and they will have opportunities there, maybe in gaming. For us, it's plain and simple. We want to solve for sports in India first, and then globally expand those to cricket markets, football markets, target the world's largest two sports, and then take it from there.
We wish you the very best of luck with your endeavour to try and pivot your way to becoming a sports AI company out of India for the world. Thanks very much for your time. That's the newsmaker Dream11's Harsh Jain on the government's decision to ban online real money gaming and the impact and implications for the industry in India. From all of us here on CNBC-TV18 for now, many thanks for watching.